Hi, my name's Tangi. Welcome to Talk from the Heart. I am so glad that you decided to join in today. We do have a good subject that I want us to talk about and go over. I think it's going to really bless our souls today. But one thing, as I was just thinking today, I want us to start declaring something in our lives. And I think that what we continue to say, we'll begin to believe. And this declaration goes like this. And each week we're going to say this declaration before we get into our topic or our message, whatever, you choose, however you choose to say it. But it goes like this. Father, I thank you for my blessing. I receive my blessing in Jesus' name. And that's going to be our declaration, because when we come together, these topics, the word or the message that we come together and we, read or we expound on, wherever it may be, it is a blessing to us. Until we see the word as a blessing to us or as a gift to us from God, we won't be able to receive it. And the more that we thank him for what he's given us, in this word, we'll begin to receive and begin to understand that this is a blessing. But what I want you to do now, we're going to go to 2 Samuel 11 first. I want everybody to get their Bibles. And we're going to read a little bit. And after reading a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and expound on it a little bit, give you something out of it, or what he gave me. And I'm going to start the second verse. And it says, late one afternoon, David got up from a nap and was walking around on the flat roof of his palace. A beautiful young woman was down below in her courtyard, bathing as her religion required. David happened to see her, and he sent one of his servants to find out who she was. The servant came back and told David, her name is Bathsheba. She is the daughter of Eliam, and she is the wife of Uriah the Hittite. David sent some messengers to bring her to the palace. She came to him, and he slept with her. Then she returned home, but later, when she found out that she was going to have a baby, she sent someone to David with this message: I am pregnant. So David sent this word to Joab: send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab him to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked him how Joab was. Then David said we're going to go back to 7. When Uriah came to him, David asked him how Joab was, how the soldiers were, and how the war was going. Then David said to Uriah, go down to your house and wash your feet. So Uriah left the palace, and a gift from the king was sent after him. But Uriah slept at the entrance to the palace with all his master's servants and did not go to his house. David was nervous that his sin of adultery would now be found out. The king called for Uriah to come home so that he could spend a night with his wife, Bathsheba, and cover up the sin that Bathsheba was pregnant with David's child. However, Uriah refused to sleep with his wife, and while his fellow men were off fighting, David was filled with anger that his plan did not work. When Uriah went back to war, King David sent a note to the army commander with instructions to have Uriah put at the front line to withdraw so that he would die. Bathsheba mourned her husband's death and was then brought to King David to be his wife. After that, the prophet Nathan visited King David and told him of the Lord's approval and displeasure. Even though David repented of his sin, Nathan told David that the son Bathsheba was expecting would die. And I want to talk about this subject that was just placed in my spirit about the pain within. The pain within. As I was just thinking about this passage of scripture about the pain within, it talks about David on this particular day on his rooftop, not bothering anybody, but he happened to see Bathsheba. And when he saw Bathsheba, the one thing that I noticed that David did, he did send his soldiers to find out the information about Bathsheba. But the thing about David, when the truth came to David, David did not receive the truth. He overrode the truth. Now he sent for the information, but when he received the information, he did not want the information. So he decided to take it a little further. It says that he called for Bathsheba to come to him, and he slept with Bathsheba. And in him sleeping with Bathsheba, she became pregnant. The sin was not the baby, but the sin was the act. And when Bathsheba became pregnant, it says that she sent the word back to David and letting David know that she was pregnant. Immediately, David began to put into action a plan to cover up his sin. And in doing that, he tried 2 times to get Uriah to sleep with Bathsheba. But each plan that he had put together failed. And I knew that the Lord knew this, because he was looking at David all the while, blocking. I felt that he was just blocking. As I look at, I can see him just blocking David's plan, trying to cover up the sin, which he knew that God would be displeased with. So that's why he kept trying. It says that he became angry because his plan did not work. And when he had conspired to kill Uriah, that was the 3rd time of his plan. But this time it did work, of getting rid of Uriah, but did not know that God was going to come again. And the Bible said that he sent the prophet Nathan to David. And Nathan brought a word. But I want to go back to how it was just dropped in my spirit. The first time when the truth came to David, it was David's blessing. David could not see that when they came and gave him correct information, that was a blessing from God, trying to heed him off from that which would come after if he did not receive the first blessing. And as the Lord just dropped it in my spirit, that sometimes God will send a word to us. He will send information. He will send correction. He will send everything he needs to send that first time. But because we minimize what he sends to us, it doesn't seem like it's a blessing. But what he's doing a lot of times in our lives, he's trying to heed us from the pain that's coming down the road. And that's what he was trying to do with David. He was trying to heed David off from the pain that was going to come if David did not make the choice of receiving the first blessing, which is truth. A lot of us don't see truth as a blessing, but it is a blessing to us. It gives us instruction. It gives us wisdom. It gives us focus. It puts us on the right road. It puts us in the right company of the right people. It puts us in the right alignment with God. It just puts us in alignment with our blessings, financial, natural blessings. It's a blessing, but we don't see it like that a lot of times. And the Lord just dealing with me about that. It's just so hard for us to see truth as a blessing. And he was just talking to me that this time, because David did not receive the blessing of truth that God sent to him, even though Bathsheba was not, back in those days, you did whatever you were told. In those days, the women did what they were told. Even though that was her part, her sin act of committing, sin with David by sleeping with him. But God held David ultimately responsible because he was God's man. He knew better. David had been raised in a household of knowing God from a little boy. You can go all the way back to when David was a little boy. God raised him up. So it's not that David didn't know. It's just that this time when David what he wanted, he overrode the truth to get that little bit of pleasure, like many times that we do. And the Lord was just dealing with me that it's so many of us are overriding the truth of what we want and not understanding that what seed you sow, because that was a seed he sowed, he was going to reap whatever that reward from that seed. And the Bible said that God, after all this did not work for David, the Lord sent Nathan the prophet. Nathan represented God representation, God standing for David and pronouncing judgment. For Nathan told him, God is displeased with you. He's displeased with the sin you just committed. He was displeased with that. He said, and because you committed this, the baby that Bathsheba is carrying, he said, would die. And he said, that is the pain within. It said that David went into mourning, and he mourned for 7 days, asking God not to allow this to happen. Just like many of us, a lot of times when we do things, even though God does forgive us, because it said that God did forgive him, but there is a reward for every sin act that we do. And the Lord have to, let us know that, yes, I did forgive you, but there's a consequence for this sin. And we have to understand that when we do these things, or when we override truth, when we don't receive, and a lot of times it's who it's coming from, maybe at the time of, where we are in life, it could be many things why we don't receive it. And not really thinking like, I'm going to have to, there's a price to pay for this when I do this. We just override. We continue to override when God brings us all these ways of trying to keep us from the pain that is coming, because it is coming. And a lot of times we are going through things, and it's because of a decision we made. This came because of the decision that David made. And this decision had a reward. It had a price attached to it. And so my thing to tell you today, that if God is bringing you a word, or bringing you truth, or bringing you correction, or bringing you a blessing, and whomever it's from, I was thinking about Jesus' mother. And I remember in the Bible where it says that when Jesus was talking about his death and different things and parables he was teaching, the Bible said that Mary didn't, I'm just paraphrasing, she really didn't understand it all at that time. But it says that she pondered it in her heart. Even though she did not understand it, she did not dismiss her blessing. She was wise enough to just say, I'm just going to just keep this right here, because I don't know what it all means. But it may not be for me today, but I'm going to keep it right here. And that's what I think a lot of us, we need to start doing, is when God brings us the truth, through whoever it may come through, don't get so defensive and putting up walls. Just because it's not for you today doesn't mean there's something that's coming down the road. And if you be like Mary and ponder it in your heart, at the time that you need it, it'll stand up in you. It will stand up in you, and it will bear witness that now is the time. I remember this was said to me. And you'll be able to overthrow what came to bring you pain. It won't even come. You won't even have to receive that reward of it, which is that pain that Bathsheba and David had to bear. Of that death of the son was that pain within. That's what God was telling me about. Many of us are going through a pain within because of a decision that was made, that when the truth did come, we just overrode it. And we have to begin to just sit down and think about all the decisions that we make, even in the run of a day, in the run of a week. You know, how many times did God send us a blessing and we just dismiss it? We minimize it because it's not what we want to hear. We don't think it's the type of blessing, or we don't think it's for us. But if we would just, become wise, more wise, when truth comes to us, when your mother tells you, young people, when your daddy tells you, when the teacher tells you, when your mentor is talking to you, don't dismiss these things. And the Lord was just dealing with me about, if we can just stay in the presence of truth, and we can just bask in the presence of truth, just stay there. Stop jumping up so quick and running from it, because we don't want to hear it at that time. That is your time. That is my time to receive deliverance. God will send deliverance, because many times we're praying about certain things, asking God about certain things, but the minute that God brings it, we don't want to hear that, because that's not how we think he should bring it. And God always come in a way that we expect not. So we have to begin to be open to how he's bringing our blessing. And if we become open to how God is bringing our blessing, we won't have to we won't have to experience that pain within that David and Bathsheba had to experience. So my thing today with you, just talking to you today, that just begin to start receiving what God sends, how he sends it. Ask God for wisdom. And wisdom is discerning the difference from another. Discerning the difference, knowing the difference is what wisdom is. When it comes, do you know this is your blessing? Do you understand this is your blessing? And if you don't, start spending more time with the Father, asking him to teach you that when he does bring it, do I understand it? Help me to receive it. Can I discern that this is my blessing? And he'll begin to help each and every one of us to receive what he brings to us and how he brings it to us. And my prayer today for everyone, that's listening to this subject today, the pain within. And one of the things that my mentor, and it's a wisdom key that he taught me, and it says, pain is not an enemy, but merely the proof that one exists. Pain is also a conversation that something in your life is out of order. I'm going to say it again. Pain is not an enemy, but merely the proof that one exists. David's enemy was lust. Your enemy may be disobedience. Another enemy may be anger. Another enemy may be procrastination. Enemy comes in all forms. And we have to be so clever, so wise to know that this is our enemy. And it comes to bring us pain. When we don't hear the first time, when correction comes, when truth comes concerning that thing in our lives. Because I'm quite sure that somebody is telling us in a run of a day, in a run of a week, about that enemy. There's something has been said about that enemy. But we're not listening. We're not seeing it as an enemy. David did not see the lust of his eyes for Bathsheba as an enemy. But it was his kryptonite. Because it caused him, the baby in the womb, babies are blessings. But David couldn't receive that blessing. He forfeited the blessing because of how he went about it. And that blessing that he would have received had he done it the right way came with a price, which was death. It was death. So I just want to say to everybody that's listening to me today that just hear truth, try to receive it, If you don't understand it, be like Mary. Ponder it in your heart. Don't dismiss it. Because just because you don't need it today, there's something coming down the road that you're going to need it. And if you ponder it like Mary, at the very time that you need it, it's going to stand up in you and bear witness that this is me. I told you this 4 times, but now it is here. And you won't have to deal with the pain within. And I just thank everybody for listening to what was put in my spirit. And I hope you received something out of this lesson today, or out of this message, which is the pain within. Always remember that pain is a conversation to us. And whenever you start dealing with pain and something is going, it means something is out of order. And start looking around and evaluating your life and see what's out of order in our lives. And try to remember, when you receive that word, or how it came, or who it came through. Just start reevaluating. Did I miss something because this is here? Because a lot of times we have missed it, or we dismissed it. And now we're dealing with that pain because we did dismiss it. But I do thank you all for tuning in today. And I just want you to tell a friend, tell your mom, dad, sister, brother, share this. And it may not be for you today, but it is for somebody. And I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. And I will see you all. We will come together again Sundays. Remember, Sundays at 3 p.m., 3 p.m., 3 p.m., 3 p.m. We're going to be uploading every week. And we're going to have different subjects. And if you have something that you want me to talk about, or, maybe us discuss, write your comments down below. We can talk about it. If it's a question that you may have, it's something that you may not understand that I said today, I can expound on it a little more. It can be a one-on-one, when in my inbox. I don't mind that, because I do mentor, a lot, other people. So I invite the one-on-one. So if that's how you, feel that you want to be able to get more understanding, of what this is talking about, or, just hit me in my inbox. But I do thank you once again. And I would tell everybody that Talk from the Heart is here.